Hello, ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages. Well, if you're a child, you probably shouldn't be listening to this. I am Grandal. I am your host. This is episode 4 of the Undertaking Satan Podcast. Hit that intro.
Hello, are you in there? This is Grandal, your friendly neighborhood satanic funeral director. I was driving around the block when I heard the flatline. Makes me think you might be in need of my services. Ma'am, I really wish there was more that I could do, but alas, I've never really been much good at necromancy. I know you're going to be facing the hardest and most trying times of your life coming up. While you're thinking about that, please think about one thing for me. Was your husband a mahogany man?
Although I am a member of the Church of Satan, I do not speak for the Church of Satan.
The opinions expressed here are not necessarily the opinions of the creators. If you're offended by anything that you hear, we suggest that you make your way to your nearest sporting goods store, buy a helmet, and secure it firmly. Life is tough, Petunia. Figure it out.
Thanks everyone for hanging out with me thus far. Thanks for continuing to kick the tires on this little project of mine. I don't really have any major announcements about the channel or anything like that. We're going to skip the mailbag this week just because, well, nothing came in. I have had one question, not really fit for the show just because it was more of a technical thing, but I think I'll answer that here. For right now, the podcast is going to be exclusively on YouTube. I am going to have some social media dedicated to Undertaking Satan, but the podcast will not be housed there. You'll be directed toward YouTube from places like Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. As always, the best way to get in touch with me is by email. That email address is undertakingsatan@gmail.com. I love interactions. I love to answer questions and things like this, but alas, this week, there's nothing came in. I guess that no one loves me. Moving on to greener pastures, we do have a couple of awesome segments for you. We're going to flip it around a little bit. I'm just super excited to talk to you about one of my most favoriteest films ever. So we're going to do it first, and then later on we're going to talk about going to the gym once more. And that is what is in store for you here on episode 4. And without further ado, here's your first segment.
Man, why we even come here? This movie sucks. And how's your popcorn?
Man, this popcorn tastes like shit.
Yeah, mine tastes like ass, too. This is terrible. I can't believe we came to see this movie. Everyone knows that nothing after 1990 is ever good. They just lost all their ideas. Ah, shit, man. Do you want to leave? Or what? Oh, shit. Hey, look down there in the front row.
Oh yeah, I see him.
Oh my god. They are going for it. Oh my god. Jesus, look at him, man. He is reaching deep in there. I mean, Jesus. To the elbow. Oh no. Oh, in a public place? Folks, come on.
Oh man, they are doing it. What is that?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, beef stick is out. Beef stick is out, folks. My God, in the front row. How is no one noticing this? Holy. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, See, we should have brought our own snacks, too. That chick's purse is huge. We could have fit a lot of bee sticks, Skittles, popcorn.
You stupid.
Yeah, you're right, I'm stupid. Bye.
Undertaking Satan presents Going to the Movies. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, do I have a good one for you this week, folks. What are we reviewing? What amazing, magnanimous film from the Church of Satan movie list? None other than the first one on the list, the abominable Dr. Phibes. I'm not kidding when I say that I love this movie. Back in the day, I don't even know when the day was, back in the day when I was first discovering the Church of Satan online, I was intrigued by the movie list. It was almost like homework. I was a baby Grandal back then, and I wasn't yet 18. I couldn't join the church. You know, I was working on getting the books and reading everything, reading the entire canon. I'm kind of a completionist when it comes to things like that. But alas, I don't think I was even driving at that point, and I lived in a small town. I couldn't get myself to those awesome bookstores, and I didn't have my own credit and or debit card yet to order things online. So the movie list kind of seemed like a thing that I could work on. It seemed like, hey, you're just watching movies, but you're learning things. I'm not saying they're all satanic overtly, but of course we all know they have those satanic vibes now, don't they? It's kind of fun just to sort of pick a title at random, watch it, maybe take some notes on why you think that it's satanically influenced, and then go back to the website and read the little blurb about it and see what Dr. LaVey and the church thought. I digress, though. We need to get back to this awesome movie. It's a revenge flick, folks. I've always liked revenge flicks. They've been done to death over the past couple of decades or so. They've gotten more and more grotesque. I'm not going to shame anyone for loving, like, torture porn movies like, Hostel or Saw. But I think that they lose a little bit of that ever so potent revenge flair in the minutia of all of the gore and effects. There's also other great revenge films out there, like I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left, things that really turn your guts viscerally, and you need someone to get even because of some horrible thing. I think The Abominable Dr. Phibes was a predecessor to this. Of course, there are older revenge films. Revenge is one of the greatest instincts that humans can possess, so I'm sure it's been a part of cinema as long as cinema has been a thing. But this one certainly has its own flair. I would be remiss online if I didn't mention the limited involvement of Dr. LaVey in the creation of the film. I'll go ahead and put a link down in the description if this stupid platform will allow me. But I did find a blurb in the depths of the internet. It was written by Reverend Thomas Thorne. Reverend Thorne knew LaVey well, and it details his involvement with the creation of the film, which was very, very small. But he did interact with the lead character, the lead actor, Vincent Price, and kind of schooled him a little bit on how to authentically play an organ inside of a robe that was hindering his movement a little bit without seeming too kooky. This film was also released in conjecture with The Devil's Reign, which LaVey had much more involvement with. And of course, LaVey was very good friends with the director of the film. Some expect that Dr. Phibes might actually even be based off of LaVey. There are striking similarities. Number one is they both have the same first name, Anton. Also, the abode of Dr. Phibes seems very, very familiar. There's a basement filled with keyboards and equipment, and also a band made of automatons, which we all know how Anton LaVey felt about artificial human companions and about his own den of iniquity. I would say that the biggest purveyor through the film of satanic ethos is this idea of vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Just to break down the plot for you very, very quickly. And you know what? It's not a very complex plot, and sometimes that's a good thing. Dr. Phibes is a doctor of music, has 2 PhDs, I believe, one in theology and one in music. He has a beloved wife who is his entire world, and his wife becomes sick. The doctors do everything that they can to save her, but alas, Anton Phibes does not think so. As a matter of fact, he was also feeling a little bit guilty because he was away when she passed away. He tried to hurry back as fast as he could, but his car went off the road. He was presumed dead, but in fact was only disfigured. He gets his estate liquidated in secret and puts together his massive, awesome plan for revenge against everyone who had anything to do with the death of his wife. The entire medical team, everyone involved. He models his torments and his diabolical plan after the plagues of Egypt. You got frogs, you got boils, you got rats. My favorite one, though, my favorite kill, and I'm not going to spoil all of it for you, but I do have to talk about the creme de la creme, and that is the beasts plague. And it's kind of hard to do this. You know, how do you kill someone with beasts in a low budget friendly manner on the big screen? Well, you fire a giant copper unicorn head across the street out of a cannon and impale the victim to the wall. My other favorite thing about this entire film is the bumbling police, the bumbling English police, who are trying to catch Dr. Phibes but cannot stop his work. And once the victim is impaled to the wall, they figure out that the unicorn's horn is actually sort of threaded. So the only way to get him down is to unscrew him. You'll have to watch it to get the full hilarious effect, but I think I've done a well enough job in explaining it. Also, talking from the funeral director standpoint, it's always interesting to see movies like this and think about the legalities and like how things have changed. Even faking one's own death is very difficult. Dr. Phibes, when his car went over the hill, he was incinerated, supposedly. But really, it was his driver who was incinerated. And one of my favorite things is there's a scene where they have to prove that Dr. Phibes is still alive. So they go to his crypt. They open up the crypt way too easily, by the way. And there was an urn in his coffin. Did they say that he was cremated? No, they just said that he was incinerated in the car crash. So now I'm just thinking about some poor mortician with a broom sweeping up the ground and calling that cremated remains. And that's not how cremation works at all, but it is quite funny to me. Also, this is a spoiler and it gives away the end, but Dr. Phibes does not plan on living through this venture. He's going to complete his works. He's going to get his revenge based on all of the plagues, and then the last plague is reserved for himself, the plague of darkness. He has his wife, and he's put her in the basement, and he's made this automated system to where he can lay down next to her, and then he embalms himself. That has got to be the most badass funeral director embalmer thing I've ever heard of. Like a person who's so dead set on getting something done, they complete it miraculously and immaculately, from everything with flying unicorn heads to tons of Brussels sprouts boiled down so it will be poured on a person and they can be devoured by locusts. Yes, that's in there. He goes through all of this stuff, and then he's like, you know what? This isn't over until I embalm myself, and no one's gonna do it but me. So he comes up with this apparatus. Once he's done with everything, lays down next to his wife, pokes the needle into his arm, which would kind of work if you hit it radial, maybe, artery. And there was some drainage. I don't know, I'm getting into the minutia of embalming, which is for another episode. But suffice to say that Dr. Phibes is an embalming boss. Now, that does leave a kind of a gaping hole. There's sort of a hole in the satanic philosophy for me with that. Self-preservation is always key. So the suicide angle is always a little bit problematic. However, if you watch the movie fully, Dr. Phibes is completely disfigured. Dr. Phibes is, in his words, already dead. He escaped death once. So I think that in his mind, his entire life was already over anyway. And thus, he was able to go about his duties, as it were. Interesting food for thought. Watch it. Get some popcorn. I love this movie. One of my favorites. I just had to review it for you guys. This was the second installation of Going to the Movies. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Alright guys, as we bring on our second segment, I must check in with the Grandal fattiness. Yep, that's right. We're looking at ripping it at the gym for the second time, coming up here in just a minute or so. And I think that if I'm going to talk about things like this, it's important to be accountable. How have I done since the last installation? Well, happy to say I have dropped a couple pounds. It's slow and it is cumbersome, but I am doing what I need to do over here in Grandal land. I hope all of you are too. And I hope you enjoy this segment. Hit it.
All right, everyone.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, I shouldn't have that second burrito. Oh, no. Please no. Please, no. Oh! I'll go get a towel. Undertaking Satan presents Rippin' It at the Gym.
Welcome to the second installment of Rippin' It at the Gym. This week's gym-related topic is all about getting back in there. There's a lot of reasons that folks don't go back to gyms, or don't go into them at all, and they're things that we all have to fight. Basically, I'm talking about gym intimidation, or gymtimidation, if you want to be cheeky. Gyms have changed over the years. I've had kind of a different perspective on which gyms I go to and for what reasons. Really was starting out in the wrestling room as a little kid. And that's a really intense spot to be. Here in the Midwest, wrestling is kind of sort of a de facto thing that a lot of people do. It's sort of like Canada and hockey, if you want to go that far. This is definitely kind of the wrestling capital of the United States here. Although I guess down there in the South, Oklahoma might have something to say about that. But kids generally get into it really, really young here, and they get into a really, really intense environment without knowing that they're in a really, really intense environment. I remember, early on, probably kindergarten, first grade. It was pretty fun, but then when you get a little bit serious, by the time you're, in fifth, sixth grade, things like that, like right before middle school and in middle school, the practices get hard, man. Like I remember just dying, like wanting to vomit, just like hanging off of a water fountain, just sucking that nectar for pure life. They were rough. And I know a lot of people will laugh at that, but if you're from the Midwest, you know what those practices are actually like. Now a big thing is hot yoga, right? Hot yoga, like turn it up to like 104 degrees and let's work out. Yeah, in the Midwest, they do that to like fifth graders, or at least they did back in my day. I know things have changed a lot. There are now gyms that are completely dedicated to eliminating gymtimidation. I'm not going to say any names, but I think we all know the big one that I'm talking about. It's the idea that, hey, you don't need to be scared to come here. Come on in. We've got pizza and treats and things like that. And we don't allow people to lift too much weight to make you uncomfortable. That's something I just can't get behind, folks. When you go from like a college wrestling room all the way down to something of that nature, an anti-intimidation gym, it's really hard for me because I'm used to that level of intensity. Even at like moderate, like health club type of scenarios, that's still pretty weak. Although I've met my match, as I talked about in the last installment when I got my ass kicked by that 60-year-old lady in body pump class or whatever it's called. Reasons for gym intimidation. They stretch from the locker room, right? Like some folks just have problems getting like undressed in the presence of others. I grew up in locker rooms all my life. Not a problem. But people are just so weird about their bodies and things like that. Even, just a quick dress or a quick shower after a workout. If somebody else sees you that you don't know, oh my God. And let's not even get into the gender dysphoria and the things like that and where people need to shower nowadays. That's definitely a rabbit hole this podcast is not going down. Even for me, I will admit that it is a little bit intimidating going in there as a giant fatty who has let themselves degenerate, because I think that I'm this massive, awesome human who can do all of these things, but then you go in there and you see someone who's actually in shape and is actually lifting weights. And you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. There's times where maybe I'm going over to do a set of bench press or something like that, and I see a dude on the bench next to me, and he's just got all the plates in the place on that bar and is just repping it out. Yeah, I might go jump some rope for a little bit or something, until it's just getting into the mindset when you're there, just lifting a moderate to a small amount of weight, and you got somebody next to you just going gorilla style. It is difficult to concentrate. It is difficult not to compare yourself to that person in that situation. You're not a gorilla, but you want to be, But the fight isn't with the gorilla. The fight is with you. You want to be better than you were yesterday, blah, 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 all the stuff you see on all the inspirational posters. I guess they're memes now, whatever. And another thing that people, I think, are really intimidated by, and I'm intimidated by this one too, folks. I gotta let you know, it's just the soreness. If you're going to go hard, you can do all the stretching in the world, you can hydrate, you can eat the right foods, ibuprofen only takes you so far. I'm just a guy on the same journey as a lot of other folks trying to drop some weight, get healthy, and achieve some goals. I do think that the new age gyms lose a step in trying to eliminate gym intimidation, because there's something about going into a gym that is so primal. Gyms are really our substitute for all of the work we would be doing if us as human animals were still out there with the other animals. Other animals don't have to work out. Other animals don't have this issue. Obesity and all of that does not exist in the animal kingdom. It's something that we've created for ourselves. It's almost like a rite of passage. And I mean, it really is a rite of passage. You walk in, you do hard stuff, you gain something. Whether that's a little bit of weight loss, a little bit of muscle mass, even just the experience of doing something hard. Nowadays, folks don't do hard things. Hard things are thrown by the wayside. I do need to wrap this up with the satanic perspective on all of this. At least from my ever so humble fucking opinion. You can look at this from a bunch of different angles. You can look at it from the aesthetics side, right? We all want our bodies to look how we want our bodies to look. You can look at this from a vital existence side, right? You can look at this from a self-preservation side. Everyone knows that bigger folks do not last as long on this mortal coil. Folks are out there claiming that fat is healthy. And again, not a dietitian, not a personal trainer, but myself carrying around all of this weight and going from a point where I was a collegiate athlete and to nowadays where I huff and puff after half a flight of stairs. Of course, as Satanists, everyone gets to choose their own version of success. Am I saying that absolutely everybody needs to go out there and start hitting the weights and doing everything? No. But I do have to ask, is it really possible to be happy as an obese person? Is it truly happiness if you are suffocating inside of yourself? Is it truly happiness if you can't bring yourself to do simple activities with your children or your families? We haven't even gotten into the sex drive aspect of this, folks. As a bigger guy, I'm going to let you in on a little secret right now, let you through the bedroom doors a little bit. Sexy time isn't as fun when you're bigger. It's really not. Well, unless you could magically make another part of yourself bigger. Alas, there are some things that satanic ritual just cannot fix. But I digress. I suppose the thing that I want everyone to take away from this segment is just a little bit of perspective. Really take a look at your life, your body, your goals, and ask yourself, am I really happy in my current situation? Maybe you're 400 plus pounds and you love your life. Maybe everything is awesome. Maybe you're getting to indulge, I would say compulse, in all of the foods that you're wanting to. You're not having to do anything. Maybe you've immersed yourself in some sort of digital fantasy world about 100% of the day. Maybe that's fine. I don't want to be solipsistic here. Not everyone needs to be like me. In my heart of hearts, I think that we know that our physical bodies are a large part of our religion because it's a carnal, physical religion, and your body is the carnal and physical incarnate. I think I'm going to leave you with that one, folks. If you're out there working your ass off, literally, keep going. Remember, I don't know you, but Grandal's in your corner.